Bitcoin's daily chart, we are getting a little bit of a bounce here. So now on the bounce, as we watch this bounce, the main thing we're going to continue to focus on is this trend, right? So this trend line, aka trend, this has been broken. You got the retrace. It went lower. Now it's bouncing again. Notice you're making up to here, right? Low, higher low, higher low. And then all of a sudden, what do we do? Lower low, right? And so really you have to get back above and kind of reestablish back above this 120 to 121,000 level. Otherwise, the trend again, the uptrend, the higher lows has been broken. And so good bounce today on the back of, again, risk on environment, stocks, again, neutral to positive on the day. We had a little bit of an up day yesterday overall, but for the most part, you still want to remain a little bit more hesitant on Bitcoin, with downside still, in my opinion, down eventually to 100,000. 100,000 would be a big level.
Gareth Soloway shares insights on crypto and Bitcoin, breaking charts and trends. Stay tuned to see what's next for markets.
The NVIDIA chart, a lot of times what you'll see is a stock kind of grind up from the early morning lighter volume, and then once the market opens, the institutions use that to sell into, and you might see it come down. Now, I'm not thinking we're going back to these lows at like 171, 172 yesterday, which was the initial flush, but I could see us going back to about 177 to 178, which was a lot of volume trading yesterday in the after hours. So again, we'll watch that very closely and see, but NVIDIA again is basically flat to just slightly negative on earnings, down 50 cents on the morning on the back of their earnings release. Now, daily chart. Daily chart was interesting, right? Yesterday, if you had asked me, and I talked about this even in my trading game plan right here, is I expected at least some sort of move. Now, I said you could push up into this resistance, retrace to the scene of the crime, and then ultimately roll over, or we could just start to sell. Now, where NVIDIA is currently trading is almost unchanged. Let's see where it goes today. But as long as we remain below this upsloping trend line, NVIDIA remains vulnerable to downside selling pressure. So just be aware, that's just what the technicals are showing us right now. We'll see when the market opens.
Bitcoin has been fighting to recover after its recent drop, but the price action remains caught in a short-term downtrend. Despite retail traders eagerly buying every dip, larger players in the market continue to unload, creating a tug-of-war between optimism and heavy selling pressure. Over the past few days, Bitcoin bounced from lows near $108,600 to trade above $112,000, yet the momentum has been far from convincing. Data from cumulative volume delta shows smaller traders consistently net buying, especially across Binance and Coinbase, with millions flowing into spot and futures markets. On the other side, whales and institutions have been net sellers, offloading billions during the same stretch. While the intensity of their selling has started to ease, their dominance in the market keeps Bitcoin pinned under stronger resistance levels. The question now is whether Bitcoin climbs back toward $117,000 to $118,000 or dips further to test $105,000. Liquidity maps suggest bids are clustered around $110,000, with a deeper zone near $104,000. For bulls to take control, selling pressure must fade. Otherwise, another sharp flush remains possible before any sustainable breakout higher.
Now, a couple other things to go over here. I do want to flip over to the S&P 500 daily chart. We remain inside of this little wedge pattern. And again, a wedge is where you have a much bigger move that gets tighter and tighter as the two trend lines converge. And we can see again that based on today, we'll be opening fractionally higher, like right here, basically just slightly up from yesterday. And ultimately, are we going to go to the high end here on the S&P, which would be around 65.40? Or are we going to start to sell off and retest the yellow line, which would be our fifth hit? And remember, fifth hits are a 60% chance of breaking. Not overwhelming odds of a break, but it does favor it slightly. We'll obviously keep our eyes on that. All right, so that's the S&P 500. The NASDAQ 100 still remains inside of its parallel channel here. And again, as of now, the QQQ or NASDAQ is slated to open just slightly up, about 0.1%, just like the S&P. So same thing. If you yesterday again, and this is so interesting, is that by the way, who really gets hurt on Nvidia not moving on earnings? Anyone who bought options expecting a big move, right? And so the premium people pay for those options, it just evaporates after earnings don't trigger a big move. And again, granted, it's still very early in the day, but we'll have to watch and see where this plays out. All right, so let's keep an eye on the QQQ. Right now, you basically could either go back up to the high end here, which would be a nice move higher, or if we break to the downside, then you start a bigger move to the downside there. Dollar today is showing signs of breaking this trend line again. It did briefly break over here on August 22nd, but it recaptured it before it was able to confirm the breakdown. And remember, folks, confirmation is a tactic that I came up with probably now it's about 15 years ago, and it has literally changed the way I trade because it tells you, again, if the probabilities tell you it is a real breakout or a fake out. And here you can see a close below, and it never confirmed, and then what happens? Boom, right back up. Now, if we close below today, let's watch tomorrow to see if it confirms that it's an actual break on the DXY. If it does, it starts favoring that bigger move to the downside here on the US dollar.
Ether is gearing up for a major moment as $5 billion worth of options expire on Friday, and traders are watching closely to see if this could be the catalyst that pushes ETH beyond the $5,000 mark. After a strong 22% rally in the past month, bullish positions now hold the upper hand, with call options outweighing puts by a significant margin. This means that if Ether continues to hold above $4,600, the advantage clearly tilts in favor of the bulls. Many bearish bets were placed at much lower levels, leaving those strategies nearly worthless after Ether's sharp climb. By contrast, a large portion of call options were set around 4,400 to 4,500, giving buyers strong motivation to defend current price levels and push higher. The biggest question now is whether ETH can build on this momentum and break through the psychological barrier at $5,000. Beyond options expiry, traders are also eyeing broader market influences, including Nvidia's earnings and global economic sentiment. If confidence holds, Ether may not just test $5,000, but potentially set the stage for a larger rally in the weeks ahead. If you have been watching so far, thank you so much for watching, and do not forget to subscribe to Bitcoin Zella for daily news, all for free. That's all for today's video. Until next time.